I think the most wonderful thing about being, well, human is that we can have moments we can share with each other. And we can live and we can grow and we can overcome our obstacles together. We are a tribe, although disconnected in some areas by whatever means. Sometimes it's religion, sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's various cultural things. But at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we should try to relate to one another. That's what makes everything possible in this world. We're all part of the same tribe. We just sometimes refuse to see that. So, as a fellow tribe member, I would like to talk to you about coming together and celebrating ourselves and our victories. I had the occasion to read a poem for a friend, and I'll be putting that video up sometime in the near future. And I thought it went tremendously well. Not because I really love the poem, because I really did, but because it was his work and my work coming together to make something even better. And I think that overall, it made me grow not only as a person, but as an artist. And that's the part that I'm smiling about even today, right now. I'm still on cloud nine because of it, not just because of the opportunity to do it, but because it's his work and mine. We both made something wonderful, I think. Anyway, that's what we should do as a people, I think. On the grand scale, we should come together. We should help each other as best we can. And we should survive our storms together. It doesn't take a lot. But in this day and age, in this world today, I should say, we are disjointed, disaffected, disassociated, whole bunch of dissing, and we should learn to associate. We should learn to come together. We should learn to understand each other. It really doesn't take that much. It's a simple nod, it's a glance, it's a handshake at the right time, or, well, sometimes it's a hug. You should try to relate to each other out there. And instead of choosing anger, you should choose understanding. Because although you may not agree with each other, and I have seen that on a very personal level, we all bleed the same blood at the end of the day, no matter where we're from, no matter what we do. We are human beings. And we should, well, I wouldn't say get better, but at the end of the day, it is kind of getting better at treating each other well. Now, there really isn't anything to be gained for us to be, in darkness and treating each other badly all the time. We should lift each other. It's like putting your ego aside to help somebody. You don't gain anything from it most of the time helping them, and sometimes there's fear and anxiety, and those play a role too. Now, I had seen this comedy video a while back, and it made me reflect on something. That when I was a kid and someone knocked on the door, we were like, oh my God, that's awesome. Who's there? Let's go see them. But now when you get a knock on the door, you're like, oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. I don't know if I could deal with this. The anxiety comes through. Yeah. You're like, who's here? Nobody should be here. No one texted me. No one emailed me. No one sent me a conveyance. And if you're in a magical tavern, no one sent you a pigeon or an owl or anything like that. But jokes aside, we are more closed off than we are open. And we should open ourselves, not only to other people, but to new possibilities, to new ideas. You see, this poem that I did, I would never have written a poem like that. I would never read a poem like that if I weren't asked to read it. and I truly enjoyed the process. It's not in my voice. I mean, the poem. You see, when a poet writes a poem, you can feel their voice, particularly if you know them. And he is a dear personal friend to me, so I know him. I know his voice, and I can feel his voice in his work. And when I had a, well, I took a moment and I wrote a script, and I was like, you know what? This sounds like my friend Cat. I have to get Cat, and he has to read this voice for me because it would be awesome. And I think he did a wonderful job doing it. So I'm trying to lift him up. I'm trying to lift his spirits. He's trying to lift my spirits. That's what friends do. Overall, I think we should be, well, friends among everyone. Try to accept as many people into your life as you can, even though you fear they might hurt you. And sometimes they will hurt you. Sometimes you won't see it coming. But it's the experience. That's what makes you grow. If you close yourself off, you are like a plant that cannot see sunrise. You are closed to it. You'll never grow. So instead of closing yourself off, try opening yourself up. Try understanding people. Try giving them a chance. I think that's the best we can do for each other. We give each other chances to grow. Now, here's a couple of stories I think I should share as well. You see, I have lived a life. I've had ups and downs. I've had my moments where it's been easier and moments where it's been more difficult. And lately, I have been through some of my own personal storms. I think that reflects in my work too. I do a lot of storm work on this channel. It's very deliberate because it's what's on my mind. Now, a storm will, well, hold on. Here's a good story. When I moved out to Colorado, there was an occasion for me to talk to a team leader that was at my job. And I said, "Hey, is there anything I should know about the weather here? Because it seems really squirrely. I'm from the East, and, normally weather is pretty complacent in its patterns. You get winter when it's winter, you get autumn when it's autumn, spring and summer. It's not the same out west, though, I'll tell you that. Because there was one January that was a t-shirt January. All 70 degrees, all January. I had never seen anything like that in my life. And it was glorious. I still remember it. But he told me, he said, "Hey, if you ever see the storms come over the mountains, don't worry about them. They are not to be worried about because, yeah, they're going to make somebody in Kansas or Nebraska have a very bad day, and you can't do anything about that. But if you ever see a storm front move towards the mountains, that's where you want to go out and buy your essentials because it's going to dump a lot of snow because that storm front is crashing against the mountain." Now, I took this as a metaphor because we often have storm fronts crashing against us and they weigh us down and they bring a lot of snow. They bring a lot of snow into our life, is what I mean. And we deal with that. You see, a lot of my messages are positive. I am a very positive person, but I am not an unrealistic one. Sometimes it is rough, and you have to shovel all that snow out of your life, and you have to move on. And taking that step is sometimes more difficult than it should be, or than you feel it should be, is more of the case. However, it's worth it. You're worth it. You are worth taking every single step forward. Don't forget that. My second story is this, also in Colorado, to just describe how weird the weather is. I lived on the plains, okay? And it was like in the 90s, dry heat, and just, scorching hot. But we had the occasion to visit the summit of Pikes Peak, which is where the song "America the Beautiful" was. Um, what was the word? It was conceived there. I believe the gentleman that wrote the song got the idea to write it looking down off that summit. And I could see it because forever it's stretched out in front of you. But that's not the gist of the story. The gist of the story is, well, it was in the 90s on the plains. At the summit, it was 32 degrees and cold, which was definitely eye-opening because you're like, "Hey, summer day," and now I'm freezing. Now, I'm using this also as a metaphor to define that life will sometimes sneak up on you with stuff that you will not anticipate. And it's, well, not only eye-opening, not only exasperating, but it's a new adventure. And I hope that even though you out there who are seeing this, who may or may not be going through your own personal adventure at the moment, I hope it's a glorious one if you are. I hope that it's filled with every possible thing it can be filled with. That is goodness, that is. But I'll tell you this, when you're out there on your adventures, finding the light sometimes is a little bit more difficult than maybe it should be, you know. I prefer to think of it as more simplistic sometimes because although the world itself is in shades of gray, my perception of it is in black and white. And what I mean by this is that there is a lot of clouds out there, but I look for the light. I don't look for the darkness. The darkness I know will try to drag me down, will try to make me have a worse day, but the light will always lift me. That's the positivity I'm talking about here. You look for the positive. You look for the little moments to enjoy yourself. So when you're out there on your adventure through, well, where I currently live, snow perhaps, I want you to take a moment, if you would, and think about things that are more uplifting. And you'll find that the snow in your life, although it will be lying upon the ground very often, will be less stressful, less heavy, more meaningful. Take care of yourselves out there. Thank you for listening and watching and all that stuff and seeing me fail. Ha! There were a couple failures in this one. I'm gonna have to edit out. Take care, my friends, and be well.